Thank you for tuning in to WedPro Business Solutions. I'm your host, Kristina Stubblefield. Now, before you go thinking, oh my gosh, is she going to talk about content again? I am, but this way I'm talking about a solution. Actually, I want to talk about repurposing. I do have conversations with clients about repurposing content. And I think a big misconception about repurposing content is the thought that the same people are going to see it across the multiple platforms. Well, here's the good news. The algorithms are different on all of the different platforms. The likelihood is not really high that a person is going to see the same content from you on Instagram and on TikTok. Now, can it happen? Of course. But in my opinion, and you know I'm going to share my opinion with you, here's the deal. Consistent content is so important. And I tell people all the time, if you can't schedule your items out where one day it goes out on TikTok, 2 days later it goes out on Instagram Reels, and maybe next week it goes out on LinkedIn, Facebook, what have you. And it's best for you to just push it out on the different platforms. Go for it. Again, I'm back to the likelihood of the same people seeing it multiple times across the multiple platforms. It's not that high. Now, here's a caveat to that. If you boost and or run ads on all of the platforms to the same content, can it be seen by people, the same people on the different platforms? Well, of course it can. But this is more geared towards you're putting out content on a consistent basis, not really with about the boost or running the ads. And I want to give you a tip on this. Most people will record from their smartphones video. Great. Absolutely. I highly encourage it. If you just plan ahead and think to yourself, is this something that I will put on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook? And is this something that I also would maybe use on Reels, TikTok, where you need it both landscape and portrait? Just scoot your phone back away from you. Get a phone holder or a tripod. There's so many different options out there where you're allowing yourself room for the video to be used landscape, but also where the sides are trimmed in and it can be portrait. Now, that made it sound like I want you to be a video editor. There's softwares out there, there are tools out there that you can utilize, or you can find someone to edit the content for you. All I'm saying is, you don't have to record a video portrait and then record the same video landscape. If that's the easiest thing for you to do, by far, do it, especially if it's shorter content. But most of my video, for example, I video all of the podcast episodes I record. Why? Because I also want to put them on YouTube. However, we take clips. I said we because I have a team. We take clips using software and put them on Instagram Reel, TikTok, things like that. It's not recorded separate. We just record in landscape originally. That way, there's plenty of room on the sides. If you're watching the video, I'm using my hands, which I do most of the time. And side note, if you are a YouTube person, you can always go and subscribe to the YouTube channel and you'll be notified when new videos are put out. So you can trim the sides and it doesn't affect anything about me on camera. I would not get hung up on the perfect video. That's not what this episode is about. It's about repurposing content, but I want to share that with you all. People are engaging with authentic, raw, real video. And that's really the approach I've always done with podcast episodes. I do my very best. We don't edit really that much. If I say something wrong, uh, which I don't know if we've ever went in and really edited out anything I've said, just giving an example. But just being yourself as if you're talking to another person, a friend, it's not the easiest thing to do with camera. And again, I'm more leaning towards video because that's something that is converting better on all of the different social media channels, as well as on YouTube, Google, websites, things like that. Now, this also goes with repurposing content for static or just graphic post as well. Don't worry about, oh, well, I'm going to post this on Facebook, but I have some of the same followers on Instagram and I'm putting out the exact same post. There are people, we even have clients that use Meta to schedule out their post, and they post the same thing on Facebook and Instagram. Now, I will tell you this tip. I always share with clients and people that I work with, make sure that you choose to customize each channel. And you have the option to where if you want to use hashtags on Instagram, but you don't want them to show up on Facebook, you can actually go to the Instagram tab in Meta if that's what you're using to schedule, and you can put your hashtags just on that post going out to Instagram. I'm going to give you an example. Links are not clickable in the description or the post wording on Instagram. It's not. That's why you see people say link in bio, link below in comments. However, you can link to things in Facebook. And that is one thing I share with people. And I've been guilty of it, not changing it myself. It's not the end of the world. But that is one thing with Instagram, you know ahead of time you cannot click on that link. Take the time to change the wording to link in bio or link below in comments, however you're using it to do that. And there are great social media scheduling tools out there. If you're not using one, we have one. We partnered with another company to make something more specific for those in the wedding industry. And you can get to a link on my website to the Pro Social Planner if you're not using a scheduling tool. And that is a great way to repurpose content. The deal is getting content out is more important than worrying about shuffling it around days or times of the week or switching it in and out. Now, when you use a scheduling tool, you can schedule something to go out on Facebook today, Instagram tomorrow, LinkedIn the next day, or Facebook this week, Instagram next week. You can use that to mix up, as I call it, your content in regards to repurposing. And I want this to be across the board because there's content out there that is performing well that is not video. However, video does seem to be getting the most engagement and the most return. Return to me, as I tell people, I'm all about saving people time and money. I want you to get something out of the time, energy, and effort that you spend on it, whether you're doing it yourself or if you're paying someone to help you with that. And with the repurposing content, it's taken me a while to get there. I've known I needed to be better about it, but the key there was batching. And if you don't know what I mean by that, is recording multiple videos at one time or doing several different posts at one time and scheduling them out. The video component, I batch podcast episodes instead of recording them one a week because I do have things that come up or we already have things scheduled with clients. So I do try to batch record podcast episodes. And the same goes for videos for TikTok, Reels, or the other channels out there. That stands to give me the best shot at consistency, batching the content and then repurposing the content. And I wanted to keep this kind of short and sweet this episode. Let me share this with you. There's no reason why you can't go back and use previous posts or videos that you've recorded or put out, especially if it's still relevant. With the way the algorithms work, when you post something on Facebook and Instagram, not all of your followers see it. Now, if you boost or run an ad, more of them see it, hopefully. But my point is, when you posted that 3 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, the likelihood that all of your followers saw it is not probably a lower number than you might think. So, there's a tip that you can actually go back and utilize previous content. Now, I'm not saying every day do that and not do any new content. Wow, wouldn't that be great? That is not the right thing to do. People in the wedding industry, I always say, have such an advantage with social media because you have so much content to choose from with events, with wedding shows. Those in the wedding industry, you're doing something usually in the wedding industry every day. It's just, do you turn your camera on? Do you take the picture? Do you record the video? And that's something for me that I've been working better about is building my content library. Maybe I don't do anything with the pictures or video that I took yesterday or this past week. As a matter of fact, I don't think I have. I should be better about that. Listen, I'm transparent. I am far from perfect with this, but I'm building a content library because I can pull from that at any point in time. And that's what I share with people. My way, I'll share with how I do it. I'm a Samsung user, Android. Sorry, nothing against Apple. I just prefer Samsung phones. And I use Google Photos and I sync all my photos to Google Photos. And then I put them in folders. Now, I have a secure password. I have a security enabled on my phone. I highly encourage that. I say that because my background is IT, so I'm sharing that information with you all. And that works well for me because I can also access that information on my computer. I don't have to email myself or text myself pictures or video or anything like that. And I do know a lot of people that have an iPhone use Google Photos as well. Now, there's also Dropbox. You can do it through Google Drive. There's solutions out there. It's just what works best for you. On that note, I encourage you to do that with your events. That is a great way to help you with repurposing content and or building your content library is get those cataloged as soon as possible. Don't wait and have to go back and do a year's worth. So, the takeaway from this episode is about repurposing your content. You're casting a wider net with your online presence by having content out on multiple platforms. For some, that can be overwhelming. And you have to prioritize where your ideal clients spend their time. What platforms do they live in? But all in all, I wanted to take on this topic about repurposing. I think it's really important. It's a huge advantage if you just think ahead when you're going to record a video or take that picture, allow yourself the space in the room to have that edited down for the different sizes. So, if you're not already part of the free Facebook group, I encourage you to do so. WedPro Business Community. You can find it on Facebook and click the join button. I drop usually software information, tips, and talk about other topics even outside just the podcast episodes. So make sure you go and join the free Facebook group. How are you repurposing your content? What tools do you love to use? What process do you use for repurposing your content? I'd love to hear from you. Just go and find me on social media or go to my website and hit the contact button. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, see ya.